JSB Trails. Welcome to JSB Trails, a beacon from the past, lighting the future.
Good day, one and all. Welcome again to the JSB Trails, a beacon from the past, lighting the future. And today we have a very, very special guest, someone who has made his name all over the world and here in Jamaica as a physiotherapist and as a contributor to the blind community at large. I speak of none other than Mr. Wilbert Williams. Good day, Mr. Williams.
Hi, how you doing?
I am very good, and how are you?
I am fine, thanks.
Let's start at the beginning, Mr. Williams. Where are you born?
I was born in Kingston, Jamaica. I was born in Jubilee Hospital.
And you were the first or the second or the third child for your parents?
I came from a very large family. My father was married twice.
Right.
He married my mother.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to that, my mother had children of her own.
Right.
So I came into the family at number 5.
Whoa.
Yes, 5 of 12.
5 of 12. And how early did you discover that you had a sight problem?
I was born blind, actually.
You were born blind. Growing up, how did you adjust to being blind?
Well, fortunately for me, I grew up with brothers and sisters who didn't treat me as if I was blind. I was part of their playing and, the entire process. If they were playing marbles,
right,
I had to be with them, and I became the marble banker.
Whoa.
So I kept marbles for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to know whose marbles were where, I designed different pins for each of the people playing.
Okay, that's good. So they included you in everything they were doing?
If they were playing hide and seek, I had to be part of the hide and seek team. Whatever it was, I was included.
Right. So tell me now about schooling.
I went to school for the blind, and I went very early at age 6. And I went through school there, had my ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
But at one stage, found it difficult to learn Braille.
Mm-hmm.
Started learning Braille at about age 7, and all when I was 12 years old, I can't finish learning Braille, Braille was like a chink in the armor.
Right.
But there was a teacher there at that time. He himself was blind, and he gave up on me, and he said, you will learn Braille, but God knows when.
Wow.
And that was what I needed. So by 14, I was reading and could read from the Salvation Army Hall meeting, So it meant that I had gained ground.
Lovely, lovely. And then you moved on to high school. Which high school was this?
Well, eventually I did my Jamaica local exams and was successful in those. You wouldn't know about the Jamaica locals before your time. Those exams were really preparing people to go into teaching or to go into agriculture, depending on the stream that you took.
Mm-hmm.
And I took the teaching stream along with 3 other people from the school. And we were all successful, and I gained a scholarship to Excelsior High and did my Cambridge school certificate.
Well done. And then from Excelsior?
From Excelsior, I got a scholarship to England to study physiotherapy at the Royal National Institute for the Blind.
Right. And what was that like? Because this must have been a whole new experience for you.
Oh, yes. Going there just prior to independence, missing all the excitement, can't find Radio Jamaica on the radio in those days, because those days, they had a big radio in the students' living room, but can't find Radio Jamaica. and a student from Nigeria walk in and 2 turns and him find a station from Lagos, Nigeria.
Oh, mercy.
I vex. And all the excitement was missing me, or I was missing them.
Right.
But eventually, what happened, the British High Commissioner came and said, no man, we're going to include you in all the activities. So they included me in all the activities. So I felt relieved in the end.
And after you completed this physiotherapy study, you came back home.
I came back home and started practicing first at KPH.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at KPH for 6 months. Then I was transferred to Mona Rehab and worked there for about nearly 10 years.
Wow.
And then transferred back to KPH in a more senior position, and worked my way up until I was acting chief physiotherapist at one stage. But unfortunately for me, and when the job was advertised and I applied, I didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
But looking back, I'm not surprised, because in those days people didn't think that you could make it to the very top.
Right. And probably because of your disability.
Oh, mainly because of my disability.
Wow.
Because the others didn't really have anything over me.
You.
But, you just have to accept it. And some of the questions I was asked in the interview pointed to that. But it's all part of life, Damion. And you've got to learn to struggle for it, even if you don't get it. Work hard.
That is true. That is true. And how did you get involved with the Jamaica Society for the Blind?
Well, back in the late 60s, I was invited to sit on the board. And in those days, they didn't have any blind people on the JSB board.
Yes, because I did a interview before with Mr. Palmer, Mr. Derek Palmer, and he was telling me about this, that there was no blind person on the board.
I sat on the board in the late 60s.
Right.
But I became frustrated, because what happened is, in those early days, the main emphasis of the Jamaica Society for the Blind was not on blind persons. The emphasis was on people with sight deficiencies. I would even call them blind.
Okay.
What they did, and it was a noble effort, but it was too restrictive.
Mm-hmm.
What they did was that they went to the clinics, the eye clinics, gathered all the prescriptions, got them filled, and sent them off to the people who had attended clinic.
Mm-hmm.
So that if you went to the clinic, you didn't have to worry about going to the pharmacy to get your prescription. They would fill the prescription for you.
Wow.
But that was about the only thing they did. So you can understand, if you are totally blind, you're not really too concerned about
it. That is true. That is true.
Although it was a noble thing. It was not surprising to me, as I said in my podcast, it was not surprising when, in 1978, blind persons really went to the annual general meeting and really made a fuss and got the whole group to resign en bloc.
Whoa. And you were one of those persons who led that revolution.
Because I firmly believe that was not the way to go about it.
Right.
I think we should have, the years we spent before making noise,
Mm-hmm.
we should have been planning how to manage the Society for the Blind once we got it. You follow me?
Yes.
We didn't do any future planning on the Society for the Blind. So when they resigned, it really took the group by surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I had resigned from the JSB a long time before that, because I became frustrated with how they were handling things. So I didn't spend more than about 3 years on the board. Then, and you see, you have to understand a little bit of the context here. The Society for the Blind was formed in 1954
Mm-hmm.
of literal rebellion by the adult blind who were then housed at the School for the Blind. Because in those days, the School for the Blind housed children and adults all on the same compound.
Okay.
And the adults didn't really have any freedom. They were treated like big children. And so they rebelled, and eventually, as I think Mr. Palmer would have told you, the Royal Commonwealth Society for the Blind sent out Sir John Wilson, who investigated the whole thing and made some recommendations, including the formation of the JSB. So people were disgruntled that even by 1978, JSB had not moved beyond that. And so we found that there was a vacuum, literally a vacuum.
Right.
We had people on the board, we put our own people on the board, but we really did not know how to run the organization because we had no prior experience.
Right.
And management was lacking. So what happened is, again, at that time, the Caribbean Council for the Blind was just being formed. So they had a fellow by the name of Carey. I can't remember his first name. But he was out here trying to put the Caribbean Council for the Blind together. And he obtained funds from the Royal Commonwealth Society for the Blind, which later changed its name to Sight Savers. That money went towards hiring a project consultant, Malvin Freckleton, and that consultant wrote a plan of action for the development of JSB. That's how it got off the ground, and that's how we began to get some focus. And then they began to bring in people from other areas. You know, people went and they sought the services of their friends.
Right.
And this partnerships with service clubs and all this sort of thing. And then later, at one of the annual general meetings, about 2 years later, was appointed to the board. And so we started to work, because by that time, the JSB was located at Kingston Gardens. It started off in the YMCA building.
YMCA?
Yes. It occupied very small space in YMCA. Later, it moved to Kingston Gardens. And then eventually, the premises where we are now came up for purchase, because it was at a time in the 70s when people were leaving their premises with food in their cupboards and all this kind of thing. And they owed the bank very little, but they were still prepared to leave it. And we got it for under 100,000 Jamaica.
Wow.
Which was a gift horse.
Right.
And so, but at the time, we didn't have any money either, you know.
So how did you fund, how did you get to purchase?
There was a lion, Wilbert Williams. He's dead now. But he put up his insurance as collateral so that we could get the mortgage for the building.
Wow, that's interesting. Very interesting.
Yes, and then we began to work to build. And of course, we had our ups and downs. We had, you know, times when we had pitfalls and we had to pick ourselves up. But we moved on, and I think we are making steady progress.
Before we move on, can you enlighten us about some of these pitfalls, some of the downtimes in those days of the Jamaica Society for the Blind?
To be honest with you, there was a time when the office staff was not really pulling with the executive body. Some of the things we wanted to do was new to them, and there was resistance. You know, this whole thing about organization pulling.
Right.
And so we had to fight that. We had to make changes to the administrative staff. It took us a while to get any kind of mix. So that was one of the major hurdles. And then over the years, we have always had a problem with, and I don't ever want to say it for radio. If you want, you can cut it out. But we had a problem with accounting, because one of the first things people will do when they come in, they think, because you're blind, you don't have a clue as to what is going on, and you will never find out. But fortunately, we have always, on all occasions, had people working with us who were able to bring this thing to the fore, and we could deal with it. And the problem is, you're never going to get rid of that, in my opinion. You've got to just have systems that will make accountability strong and will make you viable.
Right. Earlier you spoke of a gentleman who put up his insurance so you guys could purchase this current space. So there must have been other sighted persons who stood with you guys and helped you to organize the JSB. Can you remember some of those names?
Yeah, man. Like, well, I've given you one already. Wilbert Williams, he put up his money. We had people like Noel Gonzalez.
Mm-hmm.
We had people like Wes Sharp.
Mm-hmm.
Wes Sharp. As a matter of fact, it's easier if you talk about the clubs, because we had people from... Also, one of the stalwarts in work for the blind in those early days, was Carl James.
Yes, I heard Mr. Palmer spoke very, very highly of him.
A fantastic man. Carl James was in even before the takeover.
Mm-hmm.
And Carl James was always a friend of blind persons. Right?
Right.
So we had people from Kingston Lands, we had St. Andrew Lands, a couple of people from Kingston Rotary. I can't remember the names right now, but there's so many people who from time to time chipped in. A number of ladies also
Mm-hmm.
who chipped in and helped us with the process.
Right. So was it hard in those times to get volunteers to come in and work with blind persons?
No, I wouldn't say it was hard. But I would say that if you're going to have volunteers, you need a good structure.
Right.
Because you need to assign them properly. And if for example, if somebody is going to come in to read, you have to have the material ready, so when they come, you have the material to give to them and all this kind of thing.
Definitely.
Have gaps in the process.
Right. And speaking about structure, what were some of the programs that were put in place at that time to aid blind persons?
One of the very early programs was the adjustment to blindness, because we decided that adjustment to blindness was important. And at the same time, we didn't want to do away with eye care.
Mm-hmm.
So eye care was also high on our agenda, but we changed the emphasis from providing drops, to working with the Ministry of Health and to partner with ophthalmologists,
Mm-hmm.
the few ophthalmologists that were on the island at the time,
Right.
including Dr. Hugh Vaughan,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was really the direction in which we tended to move. We have never focused too much on welfare, because welfare programs can eat your income, which at that time was small. And at the same time, you can't move people ahead. So, but eventually, we began to link with Food for the Poor, and we got food which we could distribute.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was mainly the basis on which we built.
Right. And coming up through the years, what are some of the changes that you can remember the JSB going through?
Well, I think the biggest change is when we built that first floor of the second building.
Mm-hmm.
That was the major change. And we were helped by a number of funders, including Rotary.
Right.
And of course, about the extension to that building, going upstairs, and the present eye clinic.
Definitely.
Those are major changes.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, there was the main building underwent internal rehabilitation, and painting over the years, putting in shelves in the library.
Mm-hmm.
I remember at one stage even attending a workshop in Washington, which led to the formation of the present library. But one of the things we found is that managing the library was never ever an easy task. And because we felt that really, initially, that books should have been distributed to the National Library Service, and people should go to their parish libraries, get their books, and we would change the books over time.
Right.
But I don't think that ever worked. So that those are some of the problems that we had. In many ways, we had ideas, but implementation was not always easy.
Right.
Why? Simply because we never ever had the amount of personnel, the amount of bodies in-house to do the work.
Right.
And we never had the budget to do it.
Wow. But you guys pushed on and made it happen.
Yes. And those of us who have lived to see the development, we're proud of it.
Right, right.
And we're glad that things are moving forward. And, the whole JSB is taking shape.
Right, and it has made persons like you very proud to see where it has come from and where it is now.
Yeah. I mean, the whole structure. We still have a lot more to do,
Mm-hmm.
We still have a lot more to do, but we have made progress, and we ought, as a people, we ought to be proud of that progress.
Right. And in closing, what would you like to say to, the whole JSB community, the whole Jamaica Society for the Blind community, and, staff members of the JSB?
Well, we appreciate the staff members, and as a blind community, I think we should always show our appreciation to them.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're doing a job that they're needed. We couldn't really do without them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're invaluable. But at the same time, they need to recognize that what they are doing is important, and they just need to develop a love for what they are doing.
Right.
And together we can work, because blind persons alone will never be able to do it alone, single-handedly.
True.
I think if we work together with the members of staff who are sighted and members of staff who are blind, I'm happy to see that increasingly we have more blind persons on the staff.
Right. So there you have it, folks. Mr. Wilbert Williams on his experience in the JSB, the Jamaica Society for the Blind. And this man has done so much for the blind community. And Sir Will, we really appreciate the work that you have put into the JSB.
Put it this way, God is good. Mm-hmm. He gave me an opportunity, and I'm glad I was able to do something.
And so, Mr. Will, I'd like to say thanks to you for coming on to the JSB Trail. You are a beacon from the past and still lighting the present and moving into the future. Thank you so much again, sir, for coming on the program. Join me again next time when I'll have another very important person who has helped the Jamaica Society for the Blind to reach where it is right now. My name is Damion Rose, and I will see you soon.
Thank you for listening to JSB Trails, a beacon from the past, lighting the future. This has been a production of the JSB Library.